You're listening to Motherhood in Between, the show for moms who want to rebuild their bodies, reclaim their energy, and keep pursuing the lives they're called to during the season between babies. I'm your host, Lauran Saunders, registered dietitian, mom of 2 and counting, and founder of Nourished Moms Collective. I help moms recover from their last pregnancy, prepare for their next one, and support their bodies and ambitions in the in-between season of motherhood. Because motherhood shouldn't mean depletion, and your dreams don't disappear when you become a mom. So whether you're rebuilding your health, rediscovering your identity, or growing something meaningful alongside your family, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. If your inner dialogue sounds something like this, then I think this episode is going to be really helpful for you. Does it sound like, I want another baby, but I can't imagine going through another awful pregnancy again? Should I just wait and give my body a little bit more time until I feel better? Can I even handle another baby physically and mentally? My current kids are driving me insane. I don't know if I could handle another one. Or I'm not sure if I could handle the pregnancy, exhaustion, and sickness while chasing after a toddler. I don't want to go through another postpartum experience like my last. That one completely knocked me down. If any of these thoughts or similar ones have been mulling through your mind, you are certainly not alone in any of that regard. This season between babies can actually be one of the most important windows to support your body before another pregnancy, and it absolutely can impact how that pregnancy goes, how sick you are, how tired you are, and how easy it is getting pregnant again can often be impacted by what you're doing right now in this in-between season. Now, I've shared in other episodes how after my first baby, I knew I wanted another one fairly soon. I wanted 2 under 2 and to join that club. And I had started looking for resources on how to support my body. And as I was trying to figure out these resources, everything I found fell into 2 categories. Category number 1 was postpartum recovery, mostly about losing the baby weight or trying to support a milk supply or, getting your body back after having a baby. I found that there was a lot of information targeting postpartum moms. And then category number 2 was fertility advice that was more so aimed at women who hadn't had kids yet, or women who were struggling trying to get pregnant or had been struggling for a while and were considering undergoing fertility treatment. The major gap that I noticed was that no one was talking about recovering from one pregnancy while also preparing for the next. And where I come from, I'm in Utah, so we have a lot of children around here. Surprise, surprise, right? But a lot of women have babies close together. We have bigger families, and so many women that I know personally and have been surrounded by my entire life had babies back to back. And also, those women were incredibly exhausted and tired and overwhelmed, and we all just assumed that that was the normal thing that happened when you have multiple kids. After my first baby, it took about 6 months before I really realized that I need to truly start prioritizing my postpartum recovery with that preconception thought in my mind of also supporting my fertility. And through this, I was breastfeeding. I wanted to continue breastfeeding. I didn't want to wean even if I did get pregnant. And so that was another big thing that I needed to prioritize, that my body was getting enough to support myself, my breastfed baby, and then potentially a third baby. And for myself, when my menstrual cycle came back, it was about 8 months postpartum after my first baby. There were a few things that were a little bit wonky and a few signs that I was noticing in my body that I hadn't fully recovered, even though I was thinking in my mind that I want to get pregnant in the next 3 months. I knew that there was a lot of work that I had to do. So I really started to prioritize my minerals at that point, which it really was like hard and fast at 9 months postpartum, that it became a daily non-negotiable for me to focus on my minerals, to focus on my protein intake and my healthy fats intake. And also I actually did do a little bit of seed cycling during that time to help with regulating my menstrual cycle. And I spent like a really good diligent 3 months prioritizing that. And I got pregnant again fairly easily. I was still breastfeeding. And let me tell you, this second pregnancy knocked me down. My body was absolutely not fully recovered or replenished from that first pregnancy and postpartum experience. I was a lot more sick and nauseated in my second pregnancy, way more exhausted. And of course, now I'm chasing after a toddler, so it just kind of compounds. And my first pregnancy was actually really easy. I was not sick at all, and I truly loved being pregnant so much, but I cannot say the same for my second pregnancy. And I genuinely believe a lot of that was because I was so much more depleted going into that second pregnancy compared to my first. Now, fast forward to after I had my second baby, I knew immediately as soon as I had him that I wanted to put more of an emphasis on my recovery and replenishment and my fertility early on postpartum, not, after my menstrual cycle returned to 8 months. I wanted to have that a priority from the start because I know, once again, that I want to have my babies close together. I want to be done having kids before I'm 35, and so I need to prioritize and emphasize that replenishment. And so right after I had my second baby, I actually did my own hair mineral test, and this is when I really started offering this in my private practice. But I did a mineral test to figure out my depletion pattern, and let me tell you, my own test was one of the worst ones that I had seen for multiple months after that. But it honestly is not surprising because I had the babies back to back. I was breastfeeding the entire time in between and into that second pregnancy. And then I was running my own business and working at the hospital and had a lot going on, as many of us moms do, things that are contributing to depletion. And I wasn't super great and intentional about repleting it because I just didn't have the exact data beforehand. Like I said, I did my first mineral test after I had my second baby. And being able to actually see the depletion in front of my eyes, I feel like was a little bit of a wake-up call in knowing, okay, I actually need to emphasize these specific minerals, these specific nutrients, and this is what's going to help set my body up for future success and future pregnancies. And of course, helping me recover and replenish from the pregnancy that I just had and as I continued breastfeeding. And I will just say that postpartum experience itself was actually a night and day difference from my first one. And I didn't really think that my first postpartum experience was that bad, but I was way less anxious postpartum with my second one. And that was even having a late fall, winter baby and going through respiratory season. There was a lot of reason to be anxious and nervous about that, which I was to an extent, but it was still not anything compared to my first postpartum experience. And I will say I lost the postpartum weight a lot easier after my second baby because I was focusing on supporting minerals that supported my thyroid and my metabolism. And I was also able to continue breastfeeding throughout the entire year with a good milk supply. Now, I do feel like after my first baby, I had a lot more pressure to lose the baby weight. And I think that is something so many of us moms face, where we're constantly hearing that we need to lose the baby weight, that we should, maybe work out more, try and get our body back, cut our calories a little bit, not too many carbs, not too many fats, but you got to have enough protein. But at the same time, you got to maintain your milk supply. You need to take care of your kids. You're often functioning on very little sleep. And I know for a fact that most of us, all of these moms, we actually want to feel good in our body. We want to have more energy. We want our brain to be clearer. We don't want to have a foggy mind. We want our mood to be more stable. And often, yes, we want to lose a little bit of weight. And I think innately we all want to support our body for another pregnancy if you know you are still growing your family. The issue, like I've said, is that traditional advice often sacrifices our own energy and our own health for the sake of losing weight. But if you're preparing your body for another pregnancy, you should be focusing on that replenishment first. And like I said, in my own experience, when I was prioritizing my replenishment, when I saw in front of me what minerals were going to support my metabolism and my thyroid, you bet my metabolism improved. You bet my hormones regulated. My menstrual cycle came back earlier and it was more regular. My sleep improved so much better, even though my second baby was not as good of a sleeper as my first. My energy was way better postpartum compared to after my first pregnancy. And like I said, I actually lost the baby weight a lot more easily. And that's not just me. Many of my clients as well experience that they lose baby weight a lot easier when we're focusing on replenishing our nervous system, our thyroid, our metabolism, and all of the minerals that correlate with that. So if you are wondering, where do I even start? There are 4 priorities that I focus on with moms who are preparing for another baby. The first thing we're prioritizing is minerals and your metabolism. I've said this before, but pregnancy and breastfeeding, they're very nutritionally expensive. They are mineral demanding. And our minerals are needed to support our metabolism, our thyroid function, our energy, and truly how we feel day in and day out. And so often us moms are running around with a really sluggish metabolism, which is why we can struggle losing weight postpartum. We're really tired and fatigued, so we simply don't have the energy to expend energy to help when it comes to supporting our metabolism. A lot are experiencing that weight loss resistance. And of course, that nervous system dysregulation that comes with mothering small children and being stuck in a fight or flight state. I've said it before, but if you are not currently doing a mineral mocktail each day, you absolutely should start with that. Minerals and electrolytes, I kind of use that interchangeably. Either or will do. If you have a certain mix that you like, that's a great option. Coconut water and a pinch of sea salt and, a squeeze of lemon juice itself is another great, easy and simple, often more affordable option that you can do as well. But replenishing some of those key minerals while you're in this in-between season are going to make a huge difference in, one, how you're feeling right now, but also going into another pregnancy. And it's something that you absolutely can and should keep up on if you do get pregnant again soon. And I will also say with this mineral and metabolism piece, so many women will start to notice some postpartum gut issues, and mineral depletion can actually contribute to gut issues, and then gut issues itself can contribute to mineral depletion if our body can't absorb and break down our food and our nutrients the way that it needs to. And all of that can increase inflammation. This can have an impact on our thyroid health, on our metabolism, and it's really all this interconnected piece of this web that we often find ourselves weaving in postpartum, and we don't even realize it's happening until we are stuck in some really undesirable symptoms. So again, if you don't know where to start with a daily mineral mocktail. The second priority I like to focus on with every mom is our blood sugar stability. Blood sugar matters even if you didn't have gestational diabetes or you don't have any blood sugar issues. We really can't understate the importance of supporting our blood sugar. It's critical for our insulin regulation, for our hormone signaling, and not just insulin, but our sex hormones as well. It's really important for our fertility health and our energy stability. If you are having a mid-afternoon, mid-morning slump, it absolutely could be in part because of a blood sugar crash. Now, here are some additional signs of unstable blood sugar. Like I said, if you are having those energy crashes mid-afternoon, mid-morning, or a couple hours after eating, that's a sign. If you're experiencing excessive cravings and sugar cravings, that's often a sign as well that your blood sugar has dropped and you need to have some quick sugar to bring it back up. That's what your body's craving. Increased irritability, for sure, can be a sign of a blood sugar imbalance. Brain fog as well is another thing. If you feel like your brain is just kind of buffering, you're not thinking very clearly, that's another sign of unstable blood sugar. Another one that often people don't realize, if you are waking up between 1 to 3 a.m. and you're having a really hard time falling back asleep, sometimes that occurs because our blood sugar has dropped in the middle of the night and our body releases cortisol to help try and bring it back up, and that cortisol is waking us up and it's keeping us awake. In fact, I had a client recently who was dealing with this, and I recommended having a small little snack before bed that had some protein and some fats in it to help tide you over. She started doing that and was no longer having those middle of the night wake ups where she was just laying there and couldn't fall back asleep. So when it comes to supporting your blood sugar day in and day out, making sure that your meals include a protein, a fiber-rich carb source, and some fruits and veggies and healthy fats. Having those really balanced meals and eating every 3 to 4 hours are going to be your best friend when it comes to balancing your blood sugar as a mom. And I know sometimes this is easier said than done, and oftentimes we are just eating scrappy leftovers from our toddler, but really trying to have these nourishing meals are going to do so much for your energy and your blood sugar regulation. Now, the third priority that I like to focus on is gut health. Our gut is truly connected to so many processes in our body, to our inflammation, to our immune system. A lot of our immune system actually resides in our gut. It's essential for absorbing the nutrients that we give it and has a big impact on our hormone balance. And many moms can actually have gut imbalances without obvious symptoms. So even if you're not super bloated or gassy or having constipation or diarrhea, many women can often have underlying immune system issues hidden in the gut, as well as inflammatory issues hidden in the gut, or an imbalance of bacteria. And this can actually have a big impact on future pregnancies and conception. I've had clients that don't have typical gut issues, but when we look, they have really overactive or really underactive immune systems going on in the gut, and they are dealing with recurring miscarriages. And once we can address that, we actually see that they go on to get pregnant and have totally fine pregnancies from there on out. Now, so a few things that can contribute to having some wonky gut health after having a baby. Sleep disruption can do it. Not having regular meals. Stress as a mom from day-to-day motherhood things can cause some GI distress. So even if you feel like you don't have major gut issues, it still might be worth looking into before heading into another pregnancy. And then the fourth priority that I focus on is nervous system regulation. This is something that I actually spent a lot of money and time on last year. I hired a nervous system coach and really started to dive into my nervous system regulation, especially after seeing my mineral test and seeing all of my stress patterns all over that mineral test. But after I started implementing nervous system regulation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, I joked with my husband that I could probably handle 10 children if I was able to stay on top of this nervous system regulation. Now, I definitely do not want 10 children, but having a regulated nervous system truly is such a hidden gem if you are a mom and you know that you want to have multiple kids and you want to actually be a fun and enjoyable mom. Now, chronic stress keeps our body in survival mode, and as moms, we are often dealing with a lot of that chronic stress and staying in fight or flight. Our nervous system really can't differentiate between stressors, whether it's your blaring alarm clock, your crying baby, or your toddler having a meltdown in aisle 4 of the grocery store, or if you're being chased by a tiger. Your nervous system can't differentiate that. All of it is stress and stimulation. Now, beyond just, being a happy, regulated mom, regulating your nervous system is actually really important for fertility because our reproductive system down regulates when we are dealing with a lot of chronic stress and we're not handling it very well. Our body doesn't want to prioritize reproduction if it's stuck in fight or flight. And then, of course, cortisol itself can have an impact on a lot of our hormone signaling. So for all of my clients, I recommend having an intentional nervous system break, at least one, if not multiple, built into your day. And this is going to look different for everyone. So finding something that you enjoy, that you can stick to, is going to be really important. I mean, many people love meditation, many people don't. And if you don't, then I don't want you to do it. But whether it's journaling, a bubble bath, going on a walk, finding regulation practices that work for you and building them into your day is going to be so important for your sanity, but also your health as a mom in between babies preparing for another pregnancy. In Nourished Moms Collective, we actually do weekly different nervous system prompts to help give that variety for moms to test out and figure out what it is that's going to work best for them, because we all do have our own preferences. My clients are almost always busy moms with a lot going on in their life. Often they are working moms. They have 1 to 2 kiddos. Some of them are entrepreneurs, raising multiple kids, managing really full lives, full schedules, on top of any sort of health conditions they're maybe dealing with irregular menstrual cycles, dealing with the exhaustion of motherhood, not feeling like themselves, and just wanting to feel better in their body and actually enjoy their season of motherhood. So together we focus on replenishment before restriction. We focus on balancing their minerals based on their own mineral pattern. We're focusing on their blood sugar regulation, their gut health based on functional gut tests, as well as supporting the nervous system in a way that's actually realistic to their lifestyle and their family. All of this is what is helping women feel more ready, regulated, and prepared going into another pregnancy, and it's setting them up to have a smoother pregnancy. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to help set you up for a smoother postpartum experience that next time around. So if you are in this season right now where you are trying to prepare your body for another baby, I want you to remember it's not about trying to get your body back or losing all of the postpartum weight or fitting into those old jeans, or just pushing through the exhaustion and depletion. But when you prioritize restoring what pregnancy depleted, actually supporting your metabolism with minerals and regulating your nervous system, stabilizing your blood sugar, and truly nourishing and listening to your body, that is where your body actually can feel ready for another pregnancy. And I promise it actually does not take very long to see these changes. Most of my clients will start to see changes within 2 weeks and then hormonal changes within just a couple of months. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another mom who is navigating this in between season 2. And if you are looking for support replenishing your body, preparing for another pregnancy, you can learn more about our one-on-one coaching at nourishedmomscollective.com. Stay tuned for the next episode of Motherhood in Between.